And welcome to the European Parliament in Brussels for Talking Europe. Greece's new anti-austerity government appears to be softening its stance ahead of a crucial EU summit next week. Prime Minister Alexis Tsipras and Finance Minister Yanis Varoufakis have been touring European capitals in a diplomatic charm offensive. Following defiant statements last week, the new Greek government unveiled what looks like a compromise on Greece's debt relief plan. Greece versus Europe is a political agreement between Athens and its creditors within reach. Well, I'll be putting the question to my guest in a moment. And in the second part of the show, I'll be joined by the chairman of the European People's Party here in the European Parliament. Manfred Weber is a close ally of Chancellor Angela Merkel, and as you will hear, is in no mood to give in to Greece's demands. Sylvie Goulard, welcome to Talking Europe. You're a French MEP. You belong to the Alliance of Liberals and Democrats. Among many things, you served as advisor to a former European Commission President, Romano Prodi. Also with us from Syriza, Dimitrios Papadimoulis. You had the delegation of Syriza here in the European Parliament. And last but not least, from Portugal, Maria Rodrigues from the Alliance of Socialists and Democrats. You served as employment minister, I believe, in your native country. Sylvie Goulard, your impression? We've seen Mr. Tsipras, Mr. Varoufakis almost everywhere in Europe this week, a very impressive diplomatic offensive. Do you believe that some differences have been ironed out between Greece and its partners?
Of course, Europe is a collective game, and I really believe that what we need is a good agreement, the Greek new government can sell in Greece, but also something we can sell to our own public opinions. And here, of course, we are in troubles, because if in the national campaign you promise something you cannot get, because you don't take into account the positions of the others, your starting point is a very difficult one. So I trust Mr. Tsipras. I met him several times. He's a very clever person to understand the new landscape and to understand also that it is not in a Greek interest to play it in a confrontational way. Until now, we had a system in which you get some help, then you can criticize the nature of under some conditions and accepting to be in a certain position. Why? To avoid contagion. It means if Greece is treated as a problem that had, as a country, that had some problems, that is remaining in a certain framework, that is accepting to make some concessions, then fine. If you just ask for something that would be very dangerous for the other countries, because there is no limits, the Italians, the French and some others could ask the same, then it's something that might not be the ground for... Your
fear is that Greece might open Pandora's box in a way, and other countries, including Spain, Portugal, will ask for the same treatment. Mr. Papadimoulis, your feeling, you greeted on Wednesday Mr. Tsipras when he came to the European Parliament. Do you believe that it was a successful week for the new Greek government?
The Greek government has, according to the polls, support from the Greek people almost 70% a week after the elections. And also we have friends in Europe, not because we're asking some special for the Greeks, but because we're trying together with our partners to find a compromise solution good for the euro area and the Europe as a whole, because the euro area faces a lot of problems, the danger of deflation, the danger of a new cycle of recession, an increase of poverty and unemployment. And now, in the last weeks, except the Greek elections, there are some positive signals.
When you say you have friends in Europe, who are you thinking of? Matteo Renzi in Italy? Because Angela Merkel is not really open to Greece's demands, to say the least.
We are not anti-Germans. We respect Germany, we respect the German government, and we want also to be respected.
Maria Rodrigues, I know that the Portuguese are very interested, of course, in what's happening in Greece. They are in a better situation, probably, but they also had to request a bailout from the so-called Troika. What is your perception? Do you believe that Mr. Tsipras has the right arguments to win this fight?
Well, in the Portuguese case, the Troika program is over, as you know, but of course Portugal is still confronted with important problems. But I also would like to speak as the vice president of my European group, Socialists and Democrats, because of course we are very concerned with the situation, and we do believe that Greece and the Greek people, they deserve a new solution. We think that the previous solution was austerity bias solution. And we can already identify 4 points for a credible solution based on the sense of responsibility and solidarity, and something which can also be accepted by the other European partners. The points you have in mind are, first, to deal with Greek debt. We think there are no conditions for writing off the Greek debt, but there is certainly room of maneuver to reduce the burden of this debt by fine-tuning interest rates, maturities. The room of maneuver should be used.
Now, following a week of fright after the Greek elections, during which various statements by the new Greek government had raised the spectre of Grexit, Finance Minister Varoufakis made a surprising proposal during a visit to London. Our report.
A new debt plan for Greece without mention of a possible write-off. The Greek finance minister laid out his proposal aimed at ending a standoff with the country's creditors. Yanis Varoufakis wants to swap the 195 billion euros that Greece owes to its Eurozone partners for growth-linked bonds. In other words, repayments on loans would then be tied to economic growth. The second part of his proposal is replacing the 27 billion euro debt owed to the European Central Bank with perpetual bonds, meaning Greece would pay back the interest but never the principal on the loans. Meanwhile, the plan doesn't include changes to what's owed to the International Monetary Fund and private debt. In an attempt to court investors while in London, Varoufakis told the Financial Times economic reforms in Greece remain part of the agenda.
I'll say, help us to reform our country and give us some fiscal space to do this. Otherwise, we shall continue to suffocate and become a deformed rather than a reformed Greece.
It remains unclear how the latest proposals by Greece will be received by the troika of lenders. The government is set to unveil its plan in detail to its European partners at the end of the month.
Sylvie Goulart, what do you make of this latest proposal? Greece no longer says we want an outright write-off of the debt, but rather we want to renegotiate the terms. They want repayment to be tied to growth. Does it sound like a good idea?
No, first of all, I must say I'm very surprised that someone who tries to get something from the Eurozone is going to London, a country, I mean, the UK is not part of the Eurozone, and to make the proposals there. So, once again, it might be interesting. There is some new element, a new idea, and of course we will look at it in the Eurozone. But first of all, knock at the right door when you want something. Second, the key question is to know what the ECB is entitled to do. Because, of course, I mean, even for my flat, I would be very happy never to have to get back the capital and only to pay the interest rates. I mean, all the people lending money would be very happy to have such a treatment. So do we have to go along this road, or which is writing off the debt on the capital, or does it mean that it is something we cannot give? First of all, because it would be unfair for countries like Portugal, like Ireland, and some others who did everything to commit to stick to their commitments to the Troika. So I'm not at all someone who is refusing in principle, but for me these proposals are not yet on the table, on the right table. And once again, as you said, we have to find a good solution for the Eurozone as a whole. You said you have the support of the Greek government. Mrs. Merkel has the support of the German people. In some other member states, you also have to take into account the fears. The fact that some of the reforms promised by the previous Greek governments were simply not implemented. And of course, I agree with Maya that, for example, as far as the tax system is concerned, if you can make a real effort and make the rich Greeks, who, by the way, put their money in London, maybe it's the reason why Varoufakis went to London, if the money can go back to Greece, it will help a lot. So let's try also to imagine solutions using the margin of maneuver inside Greece.
Mr. Papadimoulis, I remind our viewers that you are the head of the Syriza delegation in the European Parliament. Your response?
Our program is full of reforms related to the modernization of the administration, the neutralization of the administration, which is too clientelistic for decades.
And then why do you take back the civil servants?
No,
if you want to change it.
Isn't true. Isn't true. The Greek people do not pay taxes in Greece. To cracking down the oligarchic phenomenon in Greece, which creates a lack of real competition in the real economy, creating cartels, using the bureaucracy and the method of the black money. But in order to put in force that reforms, which are needed not only for Greece but also for Europe as a whole, we need some space. We need to reduce our debt, changing the terms, and it's an obligation of the euro area to do it. The debt is not only a Greek problem, it's a European problem, and we have to say everywhere the truth. Because the debt was 60% in the euro area before the crisis, and now it's 97 and 95%. And also the debt is a common European problem. We are sure that the leaders of the institutions, Mr. Juncker, Mr. Draghi, Mr. Tusk, are realists and will. The interest of the Europe as a whole is to find a compromise solution and not to struggle the new Greek government.
Mrs. Rodriguez.
Well, I think that the time has come to have a joint program negotiated between Greece and European institutions, Commission, Council and European Parliament. I'd like to underline there is a key point we are also discussing now in the Parliament, which is useful also to address the Greek problem, but the problem in many other countries, is the room to invest. We have this investment plan being discussed, and you need to make sure that all member states can have real opportunity to use this investment plan. This means that whenever a member state is putting its national money on co-financing of projects, this co-financing should not penalize the country when it comes to the discipline of the Stability and Growth Pact. This is not ensured for all member states. This is only a possibility for member states which are in the so-called preventive arm so are below 3% of the deficit. And we think that member states with a deficit above 3% should also have this possibility. This is important for Greece, important for many other countries.
Sylvie Goulart, on Thursday, of course, all 28 member states will attend a make-or-break summit here in Brussels. It will be Mr. Tsipras' first summit. What do you expect from the summit? What do you think will come out of it?
First of all, I hope they really discuss in depth, because as you said, it's a common problem, but one should not underestimate the fact that all the decisions of the Troika, the finance ministers of countries do not say it in front of the press, were all confirmed by the ministers, including a Greek minister, from the other governments, of course, not from yours. So when you say we have to discuss including the Greeks, it's not true that we did not before. The constraint was there. The fact that when you have a financial crisis, when it's, the fire is burning on the markets, you don't have a lot of room of maneuver. But please, you have to take into account the fact that all the decisions were adopted by the finance ministers.
This is true.
And it was a political decision. So you ask them to change their mind. And I would be happy as a French taxpayer and citizen if the French minister could explain me, does he change his mind? Or did he make a mistake before? Because they never say, they all put the blame on the Troika. The Troika was the administrative arm of a political body.
But that's the point. So this means that we need now more political discussion and not just technocratic discussion led
Very
by
briefly, Mr. Papadimoulis, as we're running out of time, what do you expect from this important summit in Brussels next Thursday?
To see the reality. The Greek debt, after that 5 years of that tough austerity program, became 180% of our GDP. And before that program was 125.
Austerity has failed. That's your message.
Recession of 25%, unemployment more than 25%, youth unemployment than 50%. Humanitarian crisis, a total failure. And we are politicians and we have to see the reality and to change our mind with a democratic way, trying to find consensus, but it's a need not only for Greece. It's a European need to tend to the growth.
But who is going to pay for that? I mean, who is going, now my question is, I'm as a French taxpayer, do I have to pay the 50 million
I have a brief answer.
Yeah.
The rich Greeks who did not pay for decades because your political friends, being in the government in Greece, they didn't do. Yes, they didn't do anything.
I'm making the battle for tax convergence.
Your party, sorry,
no,
because you interrupted twice. Your party supported the ex-government, which for decades.
No,
I'm
sorry, I'm not to the PPE.
helped the oligarchs.
Greece, the Liberals.
I'm from the Liberals,
yes.
and in the two-pack discussions, I make amendments exactly in this way. I can publish it if you want.
And also,
don't put the blame on people you don't know.
Also, in Greece, we are the only European country in which the public frequencies for the television and the radio are given to oligarchs without paying €1 and without any kind of tender. Is that European?
No, but it's not a European decision.
This is part of our
It's not a European decision. It's part of the Greek problem.
This is a part of our program, and Greeks are not idiots. They voted for a change because they want growth. They do not want corruption, bureaucracy. They want the rich people to pay more than the poor people. We don't want to put our weight to the French taxpayers.
And you vow to crack down on tax evasion and make sure that wealthy Greeks pay taxes. Thank you very much indeed to all of you for taking part in this edition of Talking Europe. Now, please stay with me. I'll return just after the news break in about 10 minutes on France 24. I'll bring you an interview with the chair of the European People's Party here in the European Parliament, Manfred Weber.